right. Well, welcome back to another episode of Jackman Radio. Very excited tonight. It's a reunion that's been in the works for a while. We've had a couple of false starts, but I'm so psyched to have my good friend Ryan Dawson back on Jackman Radio. Ryan, how you doing, man?
Doing well. You guys twins?
Yeah. Which one of you does the Trump?
We're actually cousins. We're cousins by way of the Graham side.
You're both? What? No.
And let me tell you something, Ryan. Right out the gate, we got to make peace with Ukraine, because you know, if me and Henry Kissinger think that Ukraine a bad idea, it's probably a bad idea.
Lindsey Graham so deep in the closet, James Webb couldn't find him.
Oh, shit.
Webb had a hard time.
The fucking telescope?
Yeah.
You can see like infrared and stuff.
Yeah, we're twins. Do you get asked which is older, Ryan?
Yeah, who's the older one? Who's the fill in the blank one? Like, who's the whatever or whatever is?
Yeah.
Did that a lot, or used to.
I mean, dude, they're both based in equal measure, I'd say.
Yeah.
Probably.
I would say so.
Yeah, it's apples and oranges.
Yeah. different sides. We all have our own strategies and ways of doing things. And even as a twin, you know, sometimes you got to do it with a hammer. Sometimes you got to do it with honey, you know?
You guys should have him on. He was just on the History Channel again, like 4 days ago, about the colony stuff. And it's sad because the History Channel is an entertainment channel. That's what it's become.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of all of them. You don't learn history from TV. TV has to placate to the lowest common denominator. It's a commercial business. But I just felt like if you would just tell the real story, there are plenty of people who are interested in real history. You see these like YouTube channels and stuff that go over ancient battles and stuff, and there's tons of people are interested in it, and they don't have to water it down.
Yeah, they don't have to lie. Well, I wanted to have Ryan back on because something we've all been paying attention to, a lot of things that we've been into, paying attention to, researching, and especially Ryan more so than most people, is the Epstein affair. And you know, the big fucking nothing burger binder reveal. Yeah, I mean, we got to get a crime map in front of everyone, Ryan, and we've been trying to do that. When you showed Ron Paul the crime map, that was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. We were in Texas, we were in Houston at a Ron Paul Institute conference with Reed and you know, a bunch of other great libertarian people, and Ryan brought, you know, some Epstein crime maps. And this is what I tell people about your work, Ryan. You do a legit based FBI style crime map of Epstein and everyone who's involved, and going back many years.
With relationships to each other, not just like a name. Right. I showed that map to Scott Ritter too, and he's like looking over it, and he's like, "Why don't you work for the CIA?" And I pointed on the map to James Woolsey. It's like, because they are the CIA.
Yeah, you just tweeted about Woolsey and Byrne.
They're both there. Here's the client list right here. Like, pages and names. The problem is, I counted up, there's 13 billionaires just on the first page.
Jesus.
13. And there aren't a lot of billionaires, period. So this is never coming out. That's the whole donor class. You can forget about it.
See, that's the thing. And you make that point, Ryan. It's not going to be a James Bond movie with a safe where there's a secret list in there that if we just get it, we can figure out who you are. And that's a really brilliant way to put it. I said
Adam West 60s Batman, but yeah.
Okay, dude.
Like, oh, look, here's a list of all the bad guys. Just locked up. Look at that. They just wrote down all the clients for us.
Right. And you really get into the granular about the foundations that were set up and the charities and institutions and stuff through academia.
Right. That's the second generation of this stuff.
Exactly. The Sunburn Institute. I mean, you get into all of it. So I guess for people who aren't as well versed on it or researched in it, I know it's hard to do in a few words, but to really like what we saw happen a week ago with Pam Bondi and the Attorney General versus what the reality of it is. So
Bindergate, yeah.
Right. Bindergate.
I think her and I think they were ignorant on the whole thing. Like, see, they were making promises before they got in office. So they're saying probably genuinely like, yeah, why not release it? Well, we're going to get the Epstein file. And because they're like the 9/11 file and the UFO file. Like those don't exist. None of those things exist. What's been released on 9/11 is all you're going to get. What's been released on JFK is that 99% of the documents they have that are releasable have already been released. Now, There are thousands of documents that the 1992 review board never even got to see and will never get to see because it goes back to Israel. So that's not even in play. You're just playing around with stuff. It doesn't matter. And it's so funny because everything they did release, there was no reason to classify it. It didn't get into Ways and Means, national security, anything. It's just embarrassing.
Well, the Secret Service burned and destroyed a bunch of shit in the 90s before the AARB ever even got it.
Yeah.
And
that alone is like, okay, there you go. I always say to people, I said, listen, there wouldn't be tens of thousands of files kept classified if Oswald did it himself.
Yeah.
If that, and of course, the investigation in the 70s concluded based on acoustic evidence, 2 shooters. That is our own official congressional conclusion, was multiple shooters. And that's the one conspiracy that people who shy away from conspiracy were like, well, maybe that one, because that's the one you see his brain go out the back of his head. So obviously he was shot from the front. I didn't mean to drag us into Kennedy already, but like, there was another thing with the files, right? So I was making a point, like, we're going to release this. Trump got in and signed executive orders. He didn't do that for Epstein. Pam and Patel volunteered that on their own. And then they got in control. They got confirmed and realized, oh, this is an Israeli operation. Oh, crap. How do we pump the brakes? So they just released a bunch of stuff we already have. They released the 90% redacted, Palm Beach trial back in 07, 08, which was a total nothing burger. And then a bunch of flight logs that are already online, and the little black book, which is already online, unredacted. Like, what's online is even better than what they have. Right. And then they gave it to a bunch of Zionist influencers just to, anoint these people, like Cernovich and stuff, who sued a victim to get information on behalf of Dershowitz. Like, total scumbags.
That's
get
gross.
These binders. Like, we got it. We got the file. Like, you don't have the file. And what makes me furious is this authoritarian mindset where people are waiting for the government or the person on TV to give them the list. So
right.
Look, dude, they don't just have a notebook that has all the names in it the way I do. The way I got those names wasn't because it was uncovered, in a box in Epstein's dresser drawer or something. You can get it by listening to the victims. There are court cases, and they tell you Glenn Dubin raped me, Jess Staley raped me. They will tell you in detail names of people engaged in this pedophile ring, and you can listen to his employees. His staff will tell you who was in and out of the house and what they were doing, and they had secretaries that scheduled the massages. This is not rocket surgery. And then you have the internal emails and stuff from the lawsuit brought on from the Virgin Islands that go over, them discussing about it with Epstein and his clients or Maxwell. So that's how you compile the client list. So you can see who was giving them money, unexplained, hundreds of millions of dollars, like Leon Black. What was that for? Advice?
Consulting, financial advice and consulting.
Yeah, Wexner
He gave him the house for $1.
Yeah, he got basically gave school as a house. And Wexner, if you look at the Wexner Foundation, which Epstein was a trustee of and financing Ehud Barak and all that, as you were alluding to earlier, that goes back to the earlier generation of blackmail rings with Rudolph Sonborn and those guys, Bobby Baker. These people have been doing this. It's compromising. It's the whole point was to spy on U.S. science and technology and ensnare these people. And they although there were some politicians on there, Senator, a governor,
George Mitchell, Bill Richardson
there, and Bill Richardson, and Bill Clinton. That's a big one. But what they got him back when he was a governor too. It wasn't just like by the time he probably became president because he was compromised. Monica Lewinsky was just the one. Was like, okay, we'll release this one who's 20 years old, a little damage control. It could get a lot worse. And he did go out and bomb Iraq. He did pick Woolsey to be the head of the CIA, who he hated, by the way.
You make that point.
He would meet with him.
That was an Epstein pick.
Yeah, he was.
Woolsey's
Woolsey's the one that lied about anthrax on 9/11 too.
Right.
Like, he started that whole thing.
Even Valuetainment was calling Monica Lewinsky a Mossad honey trap last week. Did you see that?
Really?
Yeah,
well, that's something because those guys used to really grab their ankles for Israel.
Oliver Stone came talking to.
That Andrew Jadon, who's always been pro-Palestine, which is, I think that's why he's being slandered and stuff, is because, like, you look at what happened in Florida. These guys, I don't know how familiar you are, but these brothers come from Romania. As soon as they land, they confiscate their phones, their laptops, everything, which is completely against the Florida State Constitution, Section 9 and Section 12. Like, you can't take private property from somebody because you're looking for a crime. You have to have a crime in mind based on some sort of evidence. Yeah, you need probable cause to have a warrant.
What happened to the Fourth Amendment?
You also have to inform the people you're searching and allow them a rebuttal. None of that stuff was followed. Due process was completely thrown out the window. And it's because they got a call from the donor class that said, get rid of these guys. They said there ought to be human rights in Palestine. And Candace Owens, who's been in all the circles, right? She's been invited. She knows all the conservative people. Said, I was there. I was at the dinner parties and stuff. The moment Andrew went on with Piers Morgan and said Palestinians are people too, essentially. Why you start the story in the middle? Hamas is reacting to an occupation. He said it's like stuff I would say.
He told the truth.
They all turned on him. They're like, go against it. And that's what that is. And it's a wrap-up smear. They did it to Kavanaugh. They tried to do it to Trump. In a way, they did it to Matt Gaetz. Like, they just accuse you of wild stuff. And what's hilarious is they're accusing people of human trafficking, rape, and all this crap, but they're the ones that actually do that. Joel Greenberg did everything they accused Matt Gaetz of.
The Matt Gaetz case, yeah.
That ought to be a movie. Joel Greenberg is like the worst criminal ever. Got like 30 felonies. How did he stay out of jail? I don't know.
They should get Portnoy from Barstool to play him. They kind of look similar.
It's such a fascinating story, but it just didn't get any airtime.
No one knows about it. It's right. It's the iceberg that's underneath the surface of that scandal that you got to do a little digging and really.
He did petty stuff, man. He put sprinklers in front of his office that he could aim at people to hit them when they're walking by. Just petty, stupid things. And he would. He wasn't even smart enough to use an intermediary to pay his hookers. He was doing it, and he was writing them. He was Venmoing them and saying, for ice cream, $200
for class, for school.
Yeah. Or something like.
That's a lot different than running a freaking trafficking ring. That's not. You can't equate the two.
No, he was nothing compared to Epstein, but he did have a ring of Instagram whores that he tried to use as honey traps at parties and stuff. And that he was banging
Greenberg did?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And he's and where he belongs.
Right.
He's only been in jail for like 11 years. I'm like, why? He should never get out. All the stuff he did, he wasted millions of dollars on absolute BS no-show hires. 6 of the people that he gave 6-figure salaries to were at his wedding. It's just a good old boy network. But that's Florida. 2 of DeSantis's primary donors ended up in weird suicides. One of them shot his wife outside BurgerFile and Delray Beach.
I saw you tweeted about that earlier.
It's so good that I'm allowed on Twitter because I know all this stuff. I'm like, look, he did this, he did that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I German guy that he was bribing his daughter's friend with backstage passes to Taylor Swift if she would send him nudes. And then he lured her in his office and was demanding favors, like trying to create.
That's creative.
Yeah, well, her dad had something to say. He had to run. He shot himself too. But these are the DeSantis backers. This is the kind of filth and criminal network in Florida. Like, we don't let criminals in here. I said,
"What do you think? What do you think?
Yeah, give me an hour. Let me go through Florida politics and all the perverts and weirdos you've had.
An hour? You need 6 hours for that.
Yeah, I would.
What do you think Meatball's next play is, Ryan? Because obviously he can't be governor again. He wants to bring in his wife, but do you think he's going to try and go?
Wife. No, where will he go after this? Hard to say.
The guy has a personality defect. He's never going to be president.
Oh, I love what sums up DeSantis a lot is we walked in, they took him to like a Pizza Hut or something, like, look, a normal person place. And he's coming in and this woman comes up like, she loves the governor. Hi, I'm Kelly or whatever. I'm Karen or something. He goes, okay. And then just kept walking. He didn't say, hi, nice to meet you, Kelly. He just, all right. He's such a robot person.
Yeah.
He just follows the donors, and he did some base things as far as hitting the low hanging fruit, but so does Benaside Shapiro. Like those guys, the Daily Wire, which ought to be the Israeli Wire, like they'll go off against the like, you know, men are men, women are women. Like no shit, dude. That's not a thing. That is an argument you created that didn't need to be made. So they're like, look how base we are. We admit there are two sexes. Like, that shouldn't be a win. That should be automatic. But you supported every war ever and all this waste, that you are a horrible person. That's all there is. And DeSantis is like that. Like, oh, look, he taxes Disney. You're supposed to tax Disney. Like, I guess
culture war
the
shit.
people in Florida before that were worse. Now he's a little bit better on COVID, but that's because Florida is totally dependent on tourism and would absolutely break if you didn't allow it. So yeah, they had to roll on that. But
so
a lot of states did that. Tennessee, like most of the South, said we're not doing this.
They were
yeah.
So before we go more further into obviously we want to talk about Gaza. We haven't talked about Israel and Gaza in a while, and what we all thought was, you know, their plan was all along. Ukraine is hot in the news right now, and everyone is an expert now on Ukraine geopolitical strategy. So where do you see?
I'll tell you something sad about Gaza, and I tweeted this out too. I always thought, because you guys know I've been fighting for Palestine for like 25 years. I would fly all the way from Japan to DC to go to those annual events, the rail against AIPAC, and all the who's people, the Gideon Levy and Grant Smith and Finkelstein, all the people.
Roger Waters
is there, twice, and Max Blumenthal. Let's drop some names, whatever. But like all the who's who, and I mean the real people doing the real work, not this new generation that post Hitler memes and stuff, fucking morons. But I would go international flights to attend these things. I've basically been banned on everything for defending human rights, and I always thought if Americans just knew that the Israelis are bulldozing down houses and would just shoot children and all the things they do, then it wouldn't happen anymore. They just don't know about it because it's never in the media. And now it's unavoidable what they've done. You look at God, it just looks like rubble. They just drop bombs on apartments and houses, just whatever they want. There aren't tunnels under all those things. It's ethnic cleansing. They're talking about a Trail of Tears style thing and sticking them on an Indian reservation. Like, wow, we're at that level, huh? Manifest. I always thought if they knew, they'd oppose it. Now they know, and they still don't care.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to do. I was like, okay, they're murdering people right in front of you, and they just Hamas. It's like this religious attachment where they think, well, God's a real estate agent, and based on a wrestling match with Jacob in this magic book that has a talking donkey and a man living in a whale and all of Egypt covered in locusts and all that crap. That is our legal precedent that this ethnic group is supposed to have this land, and all the people that have been living there with continuity for 1,000 years, they just got to go. And that's it. Like, that's it. You can shoot kids, you can rape prisoners, you can torture people, you can blow up hospitals, churches, mosques, you can have snipers just blowing people's brains out, burn tents alive, blow up the food trucks, blockade them, starve them, freeze them by cutting off electricity. All war crimes you could imagine have been done, and it doesn't matter because they have America's support.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously you hear about a lot of people in the media and even people you talk to, October 7th, and it goes back way before then. I mean, to the Nagba, 800,000 displaced in 1947, 48. And I think people are willing to look at that information and to hear about it. But like you said, it's just not
700,000 displaced.
Yeah, it's not presented. It's not.
No, they always start the story in the middle. Even October 7th, in 2023, 223 Palestinians were murdered before October 7th. Every week they were killing these people. They're locked in a cage with a wall wrapped around them, machine guns pointed at them. They're put on a calorie diet as they annex the West Bank. And they'll move right into someone's living room. Guy from Brooklyn could just come in like, it's mine. God gave it to me, get out. If they resist at all, they'll arrest them.
Somebody was going to take it, so it should be me.
So they flooded Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is what Hamas named their operation, Al-Aqsa Flood, because they flooded it with people and we're doing Jewish rituals and stuff. A bunch of rabbis and professors and stuff decided we're going to go into the holy site and desecrate it. Like they're trying to provoke a reaction so they can mow the lawn, so they can go there and just carpet bomb everything.
So when you see Trump posting that ridiculous AI video of him imagining it as like a new Trump casino, is he doing that to troll, or is he saying, hey, I will do this unless Egypt and Jordan step in and get involved?
He said similar crap to North Korea. He's like, look at all this beachfront property. He's a developer. He's a New York Yankee developer, and he just wants to build houses. He's like, it's all rubble. We could build something really nice. I'm sure with enough money and stuff, you could build something nice. I'm sure they could too. If they had a port, if they're allowed to import goods, they can't get concrete or anything because they're locked in. They have to recycle stuff because they can't bring anything in. And the Israelis constantly destroy it. They couldn't have their own. If they had a power plant, they're like, well, why do they buy electricity from Israel? Like, because Israel won't let them build their own. They blow it up every couple of years. They can't do sewage treatment because the Israelis blow it up. Yeah, so yeah, America could build something. Be like, okay, are you going to let the Palestinians live there since you destroyed it? Are you going to give them their homes back?
I doubt it.
You can't just Sherman style go in and burn cities. This isn't the 1860s. That shouldn't happen either, really. But you can't just burn it like they burned Atlanta or Columbia or anything. But they did. We're really back, like Manifest Destiny, murdering the Indians, burning the cities. But that's where we're at. They target civilians. They did the same thing in Lebanon. Hezbollah was beating them on the ground, so they just went and bombed Beirut, killed thousands of civilians. These are just regular families. They're not in Hezbollah. They're not in the military. It's not a military base. They're like, well, we need casualties. And they know if they bomb Beirut enough, the Lebanese people will flee and the economy will break because there's nobody there to work or anything. They're all running away because they're all targets. And that's a war crime. Imagine the other way around if they just bombed Tel Aviv and murdered a bunch of civilians. Nobody would stand for that. But when it's Lebanese or Palestinians, it doesn't matter. And Trump's naive. If he thinks you're going to get refugees, millions into Egypt, first of all, they already have hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, and so does Jordan has millions already. Egypt also has umpteen refugees from Sudan, not only from the Sudan versus South Sudan war, but the Sudan versus Sudan civil war with Hamidi and all. And then on top of that, they're having water shortages because Ethiopia built a dam on the Blue Nile, which feeds into the Nile. And so the water table's gone down. They can't irrigate enough for crops. They can't import them from Ukraine and Russia like they used to because of that war. There's no way they can have more mouths to feed when they're already saturated with refugees, and they shouldn't have to, and Palestinians shouldn't have to go. Right. Why can't they stay in Gaza? If you're going to rebuild the homes, then the natives should be able to live in them. You can't just make millions of people leave because Israel has some religious fantasy that land ought to be theirs and they're going to take it away. So they're doing it because AIPAC and UDP are massive lobbies, and there is no Palestinian lobby.
Yeah, they run the table in our Congress and the media. But I mean, what's that?
And they blackmail. That brings you back to Epstein.
Well, exactly, and that's what I tried to weave in my discussion with people when they asked me about after October 7th and Israel and Palestine, and I say that's like one of the main reasons Epstein was created and existed and was able to operate the way he did is to keep that going.
Scott Horton had a good point. He's like, you know why it's called October 7th? Because the whole thing was done in a day. Versus 75 years of occupation by the Israelis, and now, 17 months before the ceasefire, which is never really a ceasefire because they're still sniping people, and they just went in and started arresting people in the West Bank, Florida style. No due process of law, just go to jail because you're the wrong ethnic group. That's what they're doing. And so I was saying, like, Epstein went after the donor class. He didn't bother with politicians that much. Yeah, he got the governor of New Mexico because he wanted to change the zoning laws so he could build Zorro Ranch. It's like, oh, all right, I have a way around this. That's what power flex there. But mostly he went after the people who control all those people. Once you have the donor class, you got everybody they got.
You don't
it's
even need to bother with
You
politicians.
have their puppets.
You guys know this. Hoover went around blackmailing everybody, and then Lansky and Costello got the goods on Hoover and Tolson. So now if you blackmail the blackmailer, you get all his blackmail too. It's like a vampire.
You get everything I think Kash Patel might find a blue dress in the FBI, but it's not Monica's. I think it might belong to somebody else. You know,
Kash Patel was writing checks his ass can't cash. Which, by the way, does not come from Top Gun. That was from an Undertaker promo before he was the Undertaker in WCW, and Top Gun ripped off pro wrestling. Just saying. Was
that Ridley Scott, Mike, who wrote that?
Probably him, Tony Scott, or one
of the Scott brothers. Didn't they do?
Often, by the way, they steal wrestler catchphrases and stuff in promos and put them in movies.
Yeah, wrestling doesn't get its due, Dawson. I think we've talked about this. I'm a huge wrestling fan.
Like all that, like why do they have a belt?
Yeah,
instead of a trophy, where they have a belt because wrestling has a belt.
Because they have the Intercontinental freaking championship.
You know what's been great is they're giving Ventura a bone right now in the last act of his life.
Music, they've got belts, they do promos. It's all copied from pro wrestling.
Pretty women with the signs,
the circus.
Yeah,
all that. The boxing took that from wrestling too.
Bob Backlund.
Yeah, I wrestled at Madison. Man. I was at Madison Square. Excuse me. I was at Madison Square Garden and I body slammed him back in 1983, way before Taylor Swift ever played there.
I'll tell you, Jesse was, not as much as maybe Randy Savage, but he was one of those Babe Ruths of wrestling because he could do commentary, he could wrestle, he could promo, he could talk, he was all around good at it, good gimmick, good stuff.
Yeah, no, the body was great. But Mike was telling me he's pretty much, Mike, he said he's done with political commentary right now.
He said that he's done with politics and he's going back into wrestling and as a commentator and guest spots. And he's 74 this year. And last time we had him on, he even told us that he's been dealing with a lot of health issues. He doesn't know how many years he has left. And shit, man, the guy paid his dues, man. He did his best. Yeah, he endorsed Harris and Walz, but I know that he was in for Walz because Walz was there when he signed the marijuana thing in Minnesota. He invited Jesse to be part of that. So as a former governor, they had that camaraderie. So
it's probably just like a lesser two evils thing for him. Like, look at Trump. I get it. Like a lot of people that supported whoever they supported did it because they hated the other one more. It wasn't like they were. Yeah.
Sure,
but that's true. I don't like Harrison Walz at all.
Oh God, no! Don't mistake me saying that for any kind of like him. But I didn't.
I don't care. Jesse still he did well for his state, both as mayor and governor. He's a net positive.
Right. So, yeah. Exactly. And he, even though he knows some about 9/11, he for the time when he was talking about it was one of the more higher profile people. And even if he got things wrong,
happened there. Because he had a show on MSNBC. I think he only got to do it one day, and then they paid him not to come.
Yeah,
but they bought my silence.
He had reach, and so they kookified him. They're like, they did the same thing to Eddie Bravo. Like, target him until he eats a shit sandwich. Yeah. And he just credits everything because he went into that Judy Woods stuff, and that was embarrassing.
And Judith Ferry Baker.
Come on, dude.
Yeah, the tale of the two Judys.
I spent time with Judith Ferry Baker, Ryan. Excuse me. She was Lee Harvey Oswald's girlfriend.
He's got the head going.
I believe her. I believe Judith was injecting mice with David Ferry's wig. I've seen it. Laugh it up, Ryan. Laugh it up.
But, I like how you even stalled like, kept it open. I believe her.
We love the body.
That was spot on, dude.
I
like him, dude. Him and Bobby Eaton, I could listen to them about whatever, They make the best. He was so good at sophistry. He would make the best case for the heel.
I mean, and what's beautiful too, Ryan. I got to tell Jesse this, and he didn't know this. But he is actually featured in the 6th Floor Museum in an audio recording where you can put on headphones and it says, and there were some who dissented against the Warren Report. And it's an audio recording of Ventura saying, "Let it be known as the 38th governor of Minnesota, I did not believe the findings of the Warren Report." And he didn't even know that he didn't know that was in there. And I told him about it. And he was like, really, He was floored by that.
And tell him about that. Because
him and Tyrell know. They know. They know.
So.
I think they know. But the body's doing his thing. I'm glad he's still around, and he did a lot of great work to advance truth.
So Ryan, you think Kash Patel is well intentioned, and you just think he got in there and realized the scope of it?
I think some of these people want to be king in the basement, like they're looking for internet fame for whatever reason, because they're dorks and they're like, oh, I can be noticed. But yeah, he was just making he believes in that QAnon stuff. Like he thinks there's a UFO file. Like, dude, there's no aliens. Okay,
there's a blue beam.
Unidentified flying object is not what they mean by UFO either. They mean like spaceships and stuff. They think they're full on to all that crap. And yeah, he got in thinking, I'm going to release the file. I'm like, what file? Why are you presupposing the reason it is a file? They're not going to keep that. That file is in Tel Aviv, bud. Like, this was an Israeli operation. Like, dude, it's not just the connections to Maxwell and Wexner and stuff. Like, Arvin Menashe, who worked in Israeli intelligence, said Epstein worked for Israeli intelligence. That's it. Yeah. It was, and it clearly that's what it was. They weren't, CIA wasn't spying on itself. Their own directors are on the list.
Where in your
I don't know, man. And people go and say this stuff, but they can't back it up. They can't make the argument. Yeah. I was like, why don't you just tag me in? Why are you on that show instead of me? Yeah. I can make this case. I'm not allowed on those things because I can make the case. That's like they only bring people on who aren't a threat at all.
Well, I thought today was a big win with Ian Carroll going on Rogan, and he oftentimes gives you credit, Ryan, for the work that the research he's done. So
he gives me credit twice because he credits me and Whitney.
Whitney finally clapped back at you, huh? I saw that a year or two ago.
She went around behind my back telling people I was a white supremacist because they would screenshot it and give it to me. So fuck her. At first, I was like, whatever. I knew she copied all my 9/11 work. But then I was like, I thought, well, maybe she just did some of the same stuff on Epstein. It's possible, whatever. But when I found all that out, I'm like, fuck her, dude. She was going around saying that I would make points on Sean Atwood, and then she would go and tweet them that hour, like exactly what I just said, knowing I'm not allowed on Twitter and can't say anything.
I think we should have you guys both on and see it in the ring.
We tried that with Titus Frost, and she just wouldn't show up. So
we can do a Nixon Frost style debate. What'd you say, Ryan? You tried to do and she didn't show up too?
Titus Frost.
We had it. She wouldn't show up. And she knows she copied my work. Everybody does. Well, she fucked up bad on the 9/11 stuff because she's like, why would? Because they fast forwarded their clock to make the times different. And she's like, I think this was actually, or rewound it. Excuse me. I think this was actually September 10th. No, bitch, it isn't. But that wasn't in my film, so you didn't know that. You're copying everything. I didn't put everything in Empire and Mass, but no, that's in the FOIA, which you would have known if you'd actually read, but you didn't. You're just reading my
now the unredacted full photos of those goofballs at Durick Tower. I mean, does the FBI have those, or Justice Department? Could Kash Patel release those? Theoretically,
I've already released them because we already had all their photos.
We know who they. Yeah, we know who they are, and you Rosetta Stone who they were.
You're talking about the actual original photos.
I'm talking about their photograph, their mugshots. We have their mugshots.
Oh yeah, we have their mugshots, but the pictures of them with lighters and no, that's not like a third generation
but
photocopy bullshit square in their head.
Just take the mugshot and stick it on the square. There it is. The police report says Yarn Shmuel has got the overalls, so you put that there, and you can tell the hair anyway. You know what clothing they're wearing, so you know which one is what. But it doesn't matter. Like, okay, Sivan Kurzberg and these guys, they've been on TV. Yeah, they went on Israeli TV too. You know exactly who they are. They're still on LinkedIn. I mean, they have Facebook accounts. They're not hiding.
You made the point, Ryan, how one of them, their anniversary is on 9/11. They got married on 9/11 and traveled.
Yeah, Yarn did that. Married some woman who already had a kid, and he went to India on vacation, and is stupid enough to post his vacation photos. This is because you already knew they all had tickets to leave the U.S. with immediate travel destinations in different countries. So one went to Germany, one went to Australia, one went to India, and one went back to Israel. People with a minimum wage moving company job don't go on international trips on a random Tuesday in September.
They have tickets for that, and they have all that cash laying around in an envelope for sure.
Yeah.
Ian Carroll Ian Carroll did mention the dancing Israelis on Rogan, and to my knowledge, that's probably the first time that's ever been mentioned on there. So
yeah, I mean, it's great, but it's frustrating. Like, great for him, and
Right.
he does great work on consumer products and stuff like that. He's like a young Ralph Nader. But it's like, dude, I know that he knows. I know all the stuff about Epstein and the dancing Israelis. And they like, just tell Joe, Ryan needs to say this to you, because I put in the time, I put in the movies. I know he's watched Empire Mass. He told me he did. He's told me he enjoyed it. He's watched it, and that was not the best production. That's why I'm redoing
Who's
it.
that? Ian told you,
like, dude,
or Rogan?
No, Ian did.
Oh,
Rogan,
Ian.
no.
Okay.
No, I've never spoken to Rogan.
I know you and Ian have done a few shows together, right?
No, never.
No,
Just DM on Twitter.
The thing is with the van, though, so it wasn't a van full of explosives. The van had traces of explosives detected by a bomb-sniffing dog. This is according to an FBI document.
Right. The van that they got pulled over in had traces of explosives, and that was they pulled it out to the Meadowlands sporting goods store that they made at a headquarters for the bomb patrol, whatever you call them, and the Joint Terrorist Task Force went in there, and they determined that explosives had been in the van. Those dogs, by the way, detecting explosives is super easy for a dog. Like they can, one part in whatever million or whatever, they know. This isn't like some of the drugs and things. They know when it's explosives revenue. A person can almost smell that. A dog gives dead rice. But that, don't confuse that van from a different van that the police found, that they pulled out and towed over to the Church of Dades from the World Trade Center, that had explosive devices in it. And that was reported by Pat Dawson and Rick Sanchez on the day of 9/11. Our own cops said that. Our own head of the fire department was talking about it.
That was actually confirmed.
They confused all the vans.
Yeah,
well, they reported it live. I mean, it's a weird thing. Like, hey, we found a van with explosive devices in it, and then the story disappears. Then you have another van with traces of explosives in it.
Right.
Then you have these other vans positioned in place to, to watch the towers fall from Liberty State Park, from Doric Towers, like all there. They're all Israelis. They're in place as the first plane hits or before, because no one was really like looking for them until the plane hit. They look out the window to see that. They look down, there they are, already high-fiving and hugging and stuff. They were there, and they were witness there because the famous witness is Maria. We know her
with
last
the
name.
binoculars in the news thing.
The Italian lady. Yeah.
She doesn't call exactly, whose last name sounds a lot like something that has to do with the event. But anyway, she didn't call until her husband got home. But her and her neighbor both saw the event. There were two guys working on a billboard that had seen the van and another van behind that prior, like at 8 a.m. They'd been there a while. So whatever. And the photos they took just shows them there kind of just as or right after the plane, because they don't take photos until the plane hits. Duh.
Right.
But they're there. There are all these cigarette butts in the parking lot where they'd been there for a while and hung out.
Didn't they also have a camera to film video though, Ryan, too?
The witnesses said they had one of those cameras that popped out and had the TV on it, like you had in 2001.
We had those, Mike, when I think a Panasonic when we were 8th grade and into high school. So that,
and she clearly saw it with binoculars, so she can see they're filming the whole thing. And they wouldn't have gone there with just regular cameras.
Right.
They had that. That tape, however, got passed off to this woman at White Glove Movers. That seemed White Glove Movers seemed to be the central hub, not Urban Moving Systems. You had Classic International Movers and White Glove and Urban Moving Systems and Moshe Movers. Yeah. Classic International is the one that got popped by the Miami field office of giving logistical support to 9/11 hijackers.
One of the hijackers. Yeah.
See, they told Newark that too, and that's in the files. And that people just la-di-da because so much crap has been made up about 9/11 with the airplane deniers and the thermite people and all that, that people just roll their eyes like, oh, another.
I mean, at this point, with all this real solid information, I mean, what could we really do with it if we even got it into the hands of, or made Cash Patel aware of it, or Pam Bondi, or any of those people?
Like it's kind of like, okay, they're committing genocide right in front of you in Gaza. Now what? Nothing. Because they own the donor class. Exactly.
Yeah.
But we already know state sponsorship of 9/11 terrorists from Saudi Arabia. That came out from the unredacted 28, and nobody did anything.
That's what I wanted to mention to you, Ryan.
Yeah.
You said earlier that there are no more 9/11 files, but still, obviously Brett Eagleson and the families, they met with Obama, they met with Trump, I don't know if they met with Biden, but there's still obviously the lawsuit going on.
That's true. That lawsuit has really, it's kind of redundant information, but like dead to rights, Omar Bayoumi and Osama bin Laden, that whole clique that worked for the Saudi government.
Princess Haifa sending them money.
Yeah, Princess Haifa through Noe Delcut and all that. They clearly helped operate a lot of these false charities that were funding terrorism all over the world, but included 9/11. Anwar al-Awlaki, all that, the Kurdish mosque in San Diego, they know. But that was also already in the JIS report from the Senate, and the Inspector General report has it too.
Yeah. So and Bob Graham talked about it.
Exactly. We've had this information a long time. Now they're getting more details.
Yeah.
And I have all this in the new Empire Unmasked. I had it in the old one, but it was like this long text thing that went up because I didn't know how to visualize this. But now we have video of the dinner party with Al-Hazmi and stuff.
The video came out.
Casing, Washington, D.C. and filming the police.
Yeah, did the British have that?
The British raided his house. See, that happened a long time ago. And they didn't release that till like 2022.
Right.
And there was some stuff. We know who Muppet was, because he died last year. So they came out and revealed all that. That's who they were living with in LA briefly. He was an FBI informant. I mean, holy crap. 9/11 hijackers were living with an FBI informant, and you're telling me you didn't know? But then you look at Sabel's case and Thomas Frills and Mike Fagale and all these people. They all knew. They all had foreknowledge of what was going down.
Colleen Rowley.
Everybody. Yeah. Colleen Rowley and Sabel Edmonds have blown the whistle on that. So did a lot of people. Miller talked about it. I don't know, man. That's why I think it doesn't matter. I think they could come out and be like, yeah, we did it. And until Tucker Carlson says it or Elon Musk says it, it just doesn't register.
Right.
Another great example is the Tommy Robinson thing. Fuck that Zionist, by the way, a little Ezra Levant lackey, but he took a legitimate issue, rape gangs. Nobody likes that.
The grooming
and used that as a vehicle for like generalized Muslim hate or whatever. But that has been going on since 2013. Once Elon Musk discovered it and tweeted about it, it was like, holy shit. And there was protests in the UK. Like they all suddenly noticed something that everyone else had been screaming about for like 12 years.
Right.
Then Elon made it a thing. Like if Elon would talk about what's in my documentaries, then the world would notice. But if it just comes out, like who reads the Senate report? Who read the 9/11 Commission? Who even knew there was an inspector?
Only people like us.
Who reads Operation Encore? And nobody.
Adam Fitzgerald.
You guys and Patrick Fitzgerald, or not Patrick. Patrick, that's the lawyer. Sorry, Adam Fitzgerald.
Adam Fitzgerald.
Shout out to Adam.
Fitzgerald read all that stuff.
We'll have Adam back on again soon. Yeah,
Adam did it, and and Adam got red pilled by me. Like in a way, like he used to be way off in left field. Now he's so good, dude. But
he's the best.
That's why I feel like, I had some effect.
You
because
did.
All the other best 9/11 researchers, I kind of like trailblazed that for a lot of people.
Yeah,
and it just and I got canceled for it. And he's shadow banned too. Clearly.
Oh yeah,
I think they just hate tall people. He's like 6'10" or something.
Adam's a big boy. Yeah, Reed and I went to a Ron Paul conference with him, and I think he's 6. Yeah, I think he's about 6'8" or maybe 6'9". He's a big boy.
He's like a couple feet shorter than Barron Trump.
He's
isn't,
a tower.
Isn't Barron like 8'6"? That's what I heard.
He's the popular one now, Ryan. Eric and Don Jr. better watch out. Barron's kind of coming up. He's
taking over.
The popular one.
He's got the Nephilim genes.
And he doesn't even have to open his mouth. He's like, I'm big,
dude,
and that's respectable.
There's only
I am a firm follower of Hypocrisy.
There's only 2 known audio recordings of him. There's one when he's a kid. He's like, I have to take my suitcase to school. And there's like one of him talking to Dana White at Mar-a-Lago. Those are the only 2 times I've ever heard him talk.
He talked to Biden.
Oh, yeah.
Can I smell your hair? Hold on, let me get a stepladder.
Who's that?
Well, that's what he should have done. He should have bypassed the handshake and went in and like sniffed his ear and played with his hair the way he does little girls. That would have broken the internet. If Barron Trump had went up and like smelled Biden's hair and got a little side boob, did like, you know,
man,
Biden was good to his children too. I was a steal to Israel. A joke from Eric was he showered them with love.
And Eric was
saying that.
Yeah,
it's on 4 Horsemen.
Oh, dude,
that. So it's funny. Eric was saying the other day to me, we were talking. He's like, "Man, I wonder what the first thing is where they're going to wheel Biden out, like the first official like Netflix deal or like his library." And apparently,
I think they should wheelchair race with Cheney.
Yeah,
that'd be amazing with Ukraine flags fluttering on the back.
Yeah,
but apparently, friggin' Turd Tapper there, Jake Tapper is actually releasing a book about the dementia and how it was covered up. And it's like, dude, you were one of the people who covered it up.
Thank you.
They were just gaslighting us 6 months ago that he was going to beat Trump and he was ahead in the polls. Meanwhile, he was behind by like a lot, Ryan. So they're, I think they got to give Brandon stem cells, blood bags, transfusions. They got to do something if they're going to wheel him out for a post-presidency appearance, because I think he's been even more scarce than Kamala at this point.
He might be done. They kept him in the basement to hide that. Because they needed him to win the primaries because she couldn't. He had the namesake.
So stupid.
That's all it was. And then they needed to run her because they couldn't keep his money unless it was her. Since she was vice president, they couldn't flop her out.
Right.
So they failed there. So then they tried to shoot Trump, and that didn't work.
That's a whole other can of worms, man.
I haven't even really. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I mean, come on. You got the Secret Service does a parameter shaped like Pac-Man, and right in the slice is a rooftop that overlooks where the president's going to be standing.
Yeah, but Ryan, it was sloped. It was sloped.
Right. It's a sloped roof. Have you heard my song?
It was Diagolon.
No, I haven't heard it. The New York Post just released a great 6-minute little documentary. They're doing more about it than anyone else. So sorry, what the song?
Well, I have a song called Woken Gay, and it gets into the sniper attempt. If he had just aimed Sitter Mass, it would have been over. But they wanted to blow his head off on TV.
Yeah, CNN wanted to stream it live in high def, folks. We have the documents. Even Balloon Head
says Epstein worked for Clinton.
Oh,
that's like what a twist.
Fucking Emmerich.
Yeah, imagine Alex Jones finds the most kosher way to twist the story. So
to sanitize it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So all the stuff
the guy
from
that
New
said
York,
Moab, Gaza, and Rose.
Yeah, we know where Emmerich is. So yeah, all the stuff that Pam Bondi's talking about coming from New York, which is all of Epstein's stuff. I mean, I know Israel probably has. Well, they have all of it, but the FBI did physically seize all that stuff, Ryan. I mean, how are they going to? How are they going to navigate?
You guys want to hear Woken Gay? Right. You know the pictures of the box of CDs and stuff, which must go back to the 90s because they wouldn't be using CDs later.
Right.
Remember that disappeared for a day, and then Darren Endike brought it back. Oh, I'm sure it wasn't tampered with. Come on.
Okay.
Like, we got it. We got. Soon as I, it's like my children have a homing device. Anyway, they enter. Do you guys want to hear the song Woke and Gay? I'll ask the chat. I don't know if anybody's even on Entropy, but there's some on Rumble. I'm not paying attention to X. But if you like to, we can play that as a little intermission. Why not? Let's see. In fact, I'll just do it. Let me grab it here. There you go. If you want to hear this, press 1. If you want to skip it because you're interested in trashing Pam Bondi, press 2. But I mean, we're gonna bash her anyway. It's just, do you want to hear the song or not? There's a little bit of lag, so I'll wait. Woken Gay for the win. Okay. 1-1. All right, let's play it. The ones have it.
Welcome to the Woken Gay. Transformers are in charge, hey, hey. The girls' room is full of men. They're grooming your children. Or we'll just let a migrant steal them, because Christians will forgive them. Now put on your mask and stick your head up your ass. Pedro and Manuel need a free hotel. We will give you the bill. Now take this pill and chill. You can't even sell lemonade, but here's a naked parade. Your streets look like human vermin, but at least you're not all speaking German. Welcome to the Woken Gay. Letting people rob stores is okay. Remember, if you need to get mad, it's Russia and Iran that are bad. So pay for these wars and let the queers and whores spread their hate every day. Welcome to the Woken Gay. Pedophiles run the BBC, but manliest is your enemy. A smurf man making fun of Christ. Bearded drag queens, ain't it nice? Tell me again, there is no hope, because that rooftop had a slope. It's woke, it's gay. Why do so many YouTubers play with minors in an inappropriate way? Welcome to the Woken Gay. Hope this song did not hit a trigger. If it did, well, you're just a
File. You don't have the file. And what makes me furious is this authoritarian mindset where people are waiting for the government or the person on TV to give them the list. So
Right.
look, dude, they don't just have a notebook that has all the names in it the way I do. The way I got those names wasn't because it was uncovered, in a box in Epstein's dresser drawer or something. You can get it by listening to the victims. There are court cases, and they tell you Glenn Dubin raped me, Jess Staley raped me. They will tell you in detail names of people engaged in this pedophile ring, and you can listen to his employees. His staff will tell you who was in and out of the house and what they were doing, and they had secretaries that scheduled the massages. This is not rocket surgery. And then you have the internal emails and stuff from the lawsuit brought on from the Virgin Islands that go over, them discussing about it with Epstein and his clients or Maxwell. So that's how you compile the client list. Then you can see who's giving them money, unexplained, hundreds of millions of dollars, like Leon Black. Well, what was that for? Advice?
Consulting, financial advice and consulting.
Yeah, Wexner
He gave him the house for $1.
Yeah, he got basically gave school as a house. And Wexner, if you look at the Wexner Foundation, which Epstein was a trustee of, copied on my 9/11 work. But then this comes out, like, who reads the Senate report? Who read the 9/11 Commission? Who even knew there was an inspector?
Only people like us.
Who reads Operation Encore? And nobody.
Adam Fitzgerald.
You guys and Patrick Fitzgerald, or not Patrick.
Patrick.
That's the lawyer. Sorry, Adam Fitzgerald.
Adam Fitzgerald.
So like, these two perverts did it all on their own.
Yeah.
And Jean Brunel. Yeah.
They were just gaslighting us 6 months ago that he was going to beat Trump. And
sorry, when I did this song, we lost place in the stream. I'm trying to get it. This whole stream uninterrupted is on Jackman Radio on YouTube.
he was ahead in the polls. Meanwhile, he's behind by like a lot, Ryan. So they're I think they got to give Brandon stem cells, blood bags, transfusions. They got to do something if they're going to wheel him out for a post presidency appearance, because I think he's been even more scarce than Kamala at this point.
He might be done. They kept him in the basement to hide that. What? Because they needed him to win the primaries because she couldn't. He had the namesake.
So stupid.
That's all it was. And then they needed to run her because they couldn't keep his money unless it was her, since she was vice president. They couldn't swap her out.
Right.
So they failed there. So then they tried to shoot Trump, and that didn't work.
That's a whole other can of worms,
Yeah,
man.
I haven't even really. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I mean, come on. You got the Secret Service does a parameter shaped like Pac-Man, and right in the slice is a rooftop that overlooks where the president's going to be standing.
Yeah, but Ryan, it was sloped. It was sloped.
Right. It's a sloped roof. Like, have you heard my song?
It was Diagolon.
No, I haven't heard it. The New York Post just released a great 6-minute little documentary. They're doing more about it than anyone else. So sorry, what the song?
Well, I have a song called Woken Gay, and it gets into the sniper attempt. If he had just aimed Sitter Mass, it would have been over. But they wanted to blow his head off on TV.
Yeah, CNN wanted to stream it live in high def, folks. We have the documents. Even Balloon Head
says
knows.
Epstein worked for Clinton.
Oh,
that's like, what a twist.
Fucking Emmerich.
Yeah, imagine Alex Jones finds the most kosher way to twist the story. So
to sanitize it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So all the stuff
the guy
from
that
New
said
York,
Moab, Gaza, and Rose.
Yeah, we know where Emmerich is. So yeah, all the stuff that Pam Bondi's talking about coming from New York, which is all of Epstein's stuff. I mean, I know Israel probably has. Well, they have all of it, but the FBI did physically seize all that stuff, Ryan. I mean, how are they going to navigate that?
You know, the pictures of the box of CDs and stuff, which must go back to the 90s because they wouldn't be using CDs later.
Right.
Remember, that disappeared for a day, and then Darren Endike brought it back. Oh, I'm sure it wasn't tampered with. Come on.
Okay.
Why is Epstein's lawyer allowed to take that property? I mean, that's evidence.
Right. Yeah,
that's recorded evidence.
Should have been locked down.
Yeah. All they had to do is swap out the CDs, like write the same thing on regular CDs and give them a bunch of blank stuff if they wanted. Also, if you remember in Maxwell's trial, when Sergeant Dawson was to testify about the box he found in New York, they didn't have him come back. That was like the last thing he had to say. And they were like, well, we don't want to drag him all the way up from Florida just for another minute or so. Say, no. You need to know what was the contents of that box. He's like, it's just a box of stuff.
Yeah.
Come on. They said that whole trial was just damage control. Yeah. The donors were sweating. She can't get out of it. I mean, there's so much evidence against her, but they limited it to like, these two perverts did it all on their own. Yeah. And John Brunel got arrested.
They didn't have any customers. Yeah, Brunel, man, that thing got swept up real quick, and they wrapped him right up, and you never hear that dude's name ever.
There are people that supposedly are Epstein reachers who don't even know who that is.
Wow, not a shock there.
Yeah,
and Rachel Chandler, you always hear that name.
Nobody on the list got arrested, but the number 3 guy got arrested. What are you talking about?
And he did.
And then died in jail. That should have been as big as Epstein didn't kill himself. Like Brunel didn't kill. They don't. Yeah. It happened in Paris. It's just kind of quiet. Because what happens is these people get in circles where they just repeat stuff. They're all repeating each other. You know what I think? Like, that's not your thought. That's something you just read 10 minutes ago.
You're parroting something that you haven't done any real homework into.
I don't think they're aware that they're parroting. They've done it for so long. Yeah.
The last couple weeks, Ryan, I've probably sent half a dozen people NUMEC. I said, if you really want to get a grasp, and Ryan puts a through line through Epstein, 9/11, JFK, and it's all there.
There on the map is the bridge, right where my finger is.
It's all there, man. And you need to watch it a couple times. I have to watch NUMEC again for a refresher, and just like it's an assault, Mike. All the names that he has, and in the just like how everyone ties in.
There's nothing fun about it.
There's nothing fun about NUMEC.
No. Now, you know how frustrating it is to do all that work and then even make a film. And then it's like, base people watching and stuff, but like you don't know how deep this goes. I'm giving you names, I'm giving you receipts, I'm showing you their motivation, I'm telling you why they did this and that, who did it, everything. God damn, they stole highly enriched uranium from the United States. That should be it. That's why they killed Kennedy. And it's clear. And you know who did it. And this is when they set up these blackmail rings that still persist today. Yep. Same individuals, same organizations, everything.
What was Clay Shaw's connection to that though, Ryan? I wonder. Like, because Garrison was on the right track, right? I mean, he brought in people early on this thing.
Through Permidex and the Swiss clique, Yeah, and because he was in that, let's just call it a cell with Guy Bannister and Oswald too, because Oswald and with Jim Hurd and all those guys. That's kind of where they messed up, right? That's sort of the infamous paper trail. Garrison finds that pamphlet with the address, that shared the address with spooks in Louisiana, and he's supposedly doing the Fair Play for Cuba committee or whatever. And like, why are you hanging out with people like Clay Shaw and Guy Bannister? Right. And then he was in Oni and Civil Air Patrol with Ferry and da 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 da. I just get sick of re-explaining this stuff. It's like, did you guys have COVID fatigue? Like you just couldn't hear any more stories about COVID? You got like ill from it. Like,
radio
totally, Ryan. But this is hot in the news though.
That's how I feel. I know. I still do it, but I'm like,
yeah,
I hate talking about Kennedy and 9/11 and Epstein. I'm done. Like, because I'm like, why does it matter? Even if I tell you what happened, it won't change anything. Like, it doesn't matter until rich people say it. That's what the conclusion I've come to. Unless I can get Elon or Tucker or Rogan or Tate, because those are like the pillars of conservative.
Well, those guys have how many millions of people follow those guys?
Right. It's a big reach, but it's also like, well, if they're saying it, if Tucker says it, all the boomers believe it. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like, but it's like, oh, well, now I'm not afraid to voice my agreement of this. When I say it, they're like, well, that guy's been canceled and fucked in the dirt. I'm not associating with him.
Right.
You know, he's an anti-Semite, according to the ADL.
Do you find Tucker's turn to be genuine, though, knowing who his father is and the background he comes from and how he treated dissidents of the Iraq War 20 years ago when he himself was in his late... Although there is a quote of him saying...
Well, Tucker was saying to bomb Iran. He's had his stupid moments. But he seems to be a genuine, like, American nationalist. Like, he's more of like, who cares about the border in Ukraine or Gaza, whatever? That money should be spent on America. That's his take. Right. I think he's well aware. I think he knows a lot more than what he says.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Oh, definitely. That laugh that he does is the front.
I'm certain of that because I won't say, but people he knows who know me have told me this. Privately, he knows a lot of the stuff I know. But he's not going to stick his neck out like that. I'm like, why? Then what's the point of knowing it?
Well, dude, he's got all the money.
Unless you're going to act on it.
They can't take his money. He already made his money.
He's got FU money, but look, man, if they can, and Elon too, if you go too hard on the corruption stuff, you'll catch a bullet.
Yeah.
All this spending that
Doge is going after.
Why don't you go after the DOD? That's the mother load.
That's what I'm saying. If Elon if they aim their ire at the Pentagon for real and start cutting that shit, that's when it's really going to get real.
If they bring Ron Paul in,
might publicize the list. Who's crazy enough to do it is Kanye.
Oh, dude, yay!
He'd be like, "Here you go," because Jamie Dimon's on it, and he hates him.
So there you go.
Wasn't Ye seen wearing like literally a T-shirt with a swastika on it like recently?
Yeah, you know, the swastika has just become like the symbol of attention seeking. He doesn't want National Socialism. He doesn't even know what it means. Like,
he doesn't even know what that is.
It's just become like an emblem of racism, which is funny because they obviously were racist, but so was everyone they were fighting.
What do you think Zelensky's next move is? Dancing with the Stars? Like, where does he go from here? Like, how longer will he be president, and what's going to happen there?
He's got enough houses around the world, you know. He go to one of his, he's going to the U.S. begging for money while his wife is spending millions of dollars on jewelry.
She's borrowing his high heels and his spandex and his leather pants. I mean, folks, this is just disgusting.
Whatever.
Primordial ooze coming out of Kiev, folks. Google it.
He's an actor. He's literally an actor.
Yeah.
And that's what they put up. The oligarchs run Ukraine, always have. And a lot of that money's just disappeared. It's like I said about Keir Starmer yesterday. The British government is not a government for British people. The British government is little more than a global ATM machine for cronies. And they just have this self-righteous theme as the Ukraine war, where all the Ukrainians can die because they're profiteering, and it's not in the British national interest. It's not even in the corporate interest of Britain. It's an international corporate interest that goes against Britain, because these people don't care. As long as their selective commercial interests are met, that's what they're going to do. This one.
Right. Yeah, Zelensky. He's. I mean, that was fun theater though, Ryan, in the Oval when Vance and the King ambushed Zelensky. That's fucking awesome.
He got choke slammed through the Spanish announce table.
He got
say thank you. You haven't said thank you, okay? I don't think I've heard it once today.
Have you even said thanks?
Yeah. Vance is like, you say thanks for president.
Gratitude. Yeah, give me money. Okay, give me credit.
No, you don't have any cards. You don't have the cards.
Got a shekel chat from Scarecrow. Says, did a little research on my phone while lying in bed with 50 whiskeys in. Now let me tell you stories about JFK, 9/11, Epstein, and others. Just kidding. Don't Israel my Jackson. We sent it an Andrew Jackson. I think if you had 50 whiskeys, you're probably never getting out of bed. But that is true. The people are like, oh, I watched this thing on my phone. Now I'm an expert on all things. But thank you for the dead Andrew Jackson. Let's continue making fun of Zelensky.
Tell us how we're going to feel.
Yeah, you don't have any cards.
You're gambling with World War III. I was like, wow, I wish you treated Netanyahu like that.
Yeah.
That was
no, you're out there pulling his chair out for him.
Pull his chair out and fucking buff his ass.
Well, it's very good for Israel. 9/11. America is something that can be bent, Ryan. Okay, I know how to
be moved.
They can be moved.
They can be moved very easily. Don't worry about them. Yeah.
Sharon said similar things.
Yeah, they all did. Yeah, it's all pretty incredible.
It's true.
Well,
you can move it.
So, I mean, if the king shuts the spigot off for Ukraine, which by all intents and purposes it looked like he did, what does Putin get? What is Zelensky
Supreme
really?
Court ruled against cutting off U.S. aid, so that $200 million is still coming.
Oh, I didn't.
We had a brief window for that to relax, and now all the little paid fake journalists will be back again through USA.
Yeah. I just want to get Ruth Payne's tax records. I want to get her tax records and Lee Harvey Oswald's and Michael Payne's tax records.
I want to drug test Congress. Ooh. You're gonna lock people up for drugs. Seriously, all of you should pass the drug test because a lot of them are sniffing blow.
Oh God,
Zelensky, how many times did he itch his nose? Holy crap!
Oh yeah, he was.
Look, wear a suit next time, okay?
When I was with Biden, Hunter and I would just be snorting up during the conversation.
I slapped Don Jr. for not wearing his suit.
Cocaine in the White House. Everyone thought it was Hunter's. I go, wasn't Zelensky just there? It wasn't Hunter because there wouldn't be any left.
No, God, no. He's a vacuum.
He's out there looking for Parmesan cheese in the rug.
Incredible.
That was corn pops.
Can you imagine a functional media, the field day they could have had with Hunter and the whole Biden crime syndicate, these weirdos, these weird criminals. Like
Devin Archer.
You could go after Pelosi. I mean, God damn, it's insider trading. Everyone knows.
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
Two guys, one hammer, What
or Lindsey Graham, he uses a hammer with two hands.
Yeah, he does.
I use the claw side. Thank you very much.
Yeah, he does.
I like the claw side. I like the harsh steel side of a stool down in South Carolina on a Friday night.
On a sledgehammer, head up.
Oh.
What? So, what do you make of the State of the Union?
Lindsey Graham eats fried chicken with a knife and fork.
Yeah, he is.
Oh. Dude,
he's the kind of guy that would waltz into South Carolina and get an unsweetened iced tea. You know what I'm saying?
It's unsweetened, Mike.
Because I'm sweet enough. Thank you very much. My little mint julep.
We could do this.
Ryan's my little mint julep over in Korea's.
We could do this.
I'm going to send an aircraft carrier to pick you up, Ryan.
Lotion.
Lotion.
It's going to take boots.
I wish it was another. If there was, I would find it.
That son of a bitch got on TV with houses floating in a river created by the hurricane, and he's talking about enough about the hurricane. What about Israel? Do you get paid every time you say Israel? Is that what's up?
Yeah, he's got a deal.
He's looking pretty ratchet. I think he's about 70, but he's like a 90-year-old Sith. He's 90-year-old Sith looking.
He's having a hard time because eye patch McCain just isn't the same cheek spreader as McCain, I guess.
I mean, I can take the eye patch off and stick something in the socket, but it's not the same. I like to pick the melanoma off of John's skin at night, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, God.
I have a McCain burning in hell mug, but it's not within arm's reach. Oh well.
Good
But,
God. You know, how do you think the families in Vietnam feel, you know, who McCain rained hellfire over some 45, 50 years ago? They view him a little bit differently, don't they?
Well, their neighbors too, Laos and Cambodia. But I always said when John McCain died, ISIS put their flag at half mast.
Yeah, they did. They
I
lost.
know these boys. These are good people.
They lost one of their leaders.
Yeah.
One of their true compasses.
He really was like one of the four horsemen. Like if McCain visits you,
he was a true
chaos will
horseman.
follow. He visited Ukraine too. Him and Graham saying 2017 will be the year of offense.
Yeah.
We played footsie on. We played footsie on the C-130.
The Maidan.
How about
I mean, Lindsey Graham is basically an Israeli condom.
Oh, that's the line of the night right there.
We're gonna clip that one. That's clippable for sure.
How about the king talking about Pocahontas? He's like, "You want 5 more years of war?" Pocahontas agrees. That was amazing.
That was a moment in time. There it is, Mike. It makes an appearance.
Dinner is prepared.
Yeah,
The
Zog whistle.
I don't want to get your channel burned there, Ryan. I don't want to get you in trouble with your channel, but
Man, it's hard to do those interviews with Atwood because I can't say rape, I can't say trafficking, I can't say anything, and it messes up my flow, you know.
Yeah, zing.
Well, we're still on YouTube somehow, so I don't know.
We what do we finally get over 3,000 subscribers? Everyone watching right now live, we got 44 people, folks.
Share this shit.
Hit subscribe, help us out, boost it.
I'll share it on Substack.
That'll be great.
I also want to point out we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary of Jackman Radio. We're almost at 200 episodes, and I want to thank everybody.
You have some great guests on this show too. It's just what YouTube did is I call it algorithmic privilege. They just pulled the ladder up. They've got their established people, and they're like, you cannot get organic growth on there. If you're like, I'm not even allowed on at all, but they banned Ritter, they banned Larry Johnson over nothing, you know.
Yeah, all the basic.
I mean, we know they raided Ritter's house.
Yeah,
we're talking about another Matrix attack. But nothing came of that. Right? They raided his house. They went through all this stuff.
Never heard anything afterwards.
Would they call him a Russian agent or something?
Right.
Reminds me of that. Who was that ginger that was yelling at me? You're a government agent. Remember that guy?
You know, it was amazing.
Not say his name.
The video of Ritter over in Chechnya with the leader there, and he's speaking in front of all the military. Dude, Reed and I watched that together on the stream. It was one of the most amazing things we've ever seen. It's Ritter speaking in Ritter
is, almost single-handedly why they couldn't just plant WMDs.
Right.
Because you think, why don't you just put some there?
He told the truth.
Operation Wash Tub. And you go discover your own weapons.
Yeah.
We got the receipts.
To Central America, yeah.
No, Mike, we kind of wanted to go granular, Mike, because of the JFK remaining. We want the remaining JFK files, but to go granular on who we think the shooters were, because that's something that I've kind of been more openly talking about.
Well, because of Corey Hughes, Ryan. You had Corey Hughes on, and I hadn't heard of him till then. I actually got his book. I read his book. He dedicates the book to you and claims that he is now the #1 JFK researcher.
No, he's not. He did that.
Dave Yaris is on the pergola, right?
He should write a book. That's what he wants to be. I'm like, fine, I'll do it. But I'll tell you, he discovered a lot of that on his own because
he did.
I said, do you want the answer or do you want the puzzle? And he said, I want the puzzle. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to give you a huge hint that's going to save you about 10 years. But then don't ask me. And trust me, he tried. Couple times, and I would go years with no, I was just laughing. I really enjoyed watching his frustration.
What's the hint?
I gave him, I'll let him say, but I gave him some big hints, and then when he was going off into a dead end, I would say, it's not that. Go look here. But I wouldn't tell him what it was. I just tell him what it wasn't, so they didn't waste time.
Yeah.
He wrote a book. And I'm glad he gave acknowledgement and stuff because most people wouldn't. They just be like, yeah, that was all me.
No, that was all me. Yeah.
That's what you know how many times I've been burned like that. And that's why I sit on information too, is I'm like, that's why I released the first page of the Epstein list and not the second and third page. I mean, I've given it to certain people, but I'm like, no, y'all are just going to plagiarize this, and I'm the one being canceled and losing my money, and my family gets harassed, all this shit. So for what? Are you guys in this for justice or drama? I think most people are in there, they're just drama merchants. They're
Fucking drama.
They're just trying to create a flame war.
Yep.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
That's all it is.
How about the truth? How about just the truth? That's what we're in it for. And
when it comes to RFK or JFK, we're like, okay, let's, for example, we like, all right, Thane Caesar shot RFK. No question. So what? You don't know who he is. You don't know why he did it. It's just some punk. Who cares?
He hated the
if you
Kennedys.
don't know the background of these people and you don't know why they killed the Kennedys, it doesn't matter. That's why Newmack focused completely on the why. And the other reason is, if I was to explain Daley Plaza and Shackley and all that crap with Angle 10, it would have been a 10-hour movie. And I'm like, no, this is about the uranium theft, but this is enough. Like, this is why they got rid of him. Ben Gurion had him killed. And, Thane wasn't working alone. And he had been cleared by John Alessio and that National Bank in San Diego. And if you trace those ties, it's the same people. And they started offing each other. They killed Roselli. They killed Giancana. They killed Roselli in a fantastic way, chopped up his body and put it in barrels and dumped him in the Gulf of America.
Gulf of America. Thank you, Ryan, for acknowledging that. I really appreciate that.
At the time, it was called the Gulf of Mexico. I always thought, why not compromise? Just, you've got Cuba and the United States and Mexico, so just call it the Cuban, United States, Mexican Gulf. You can abbreviate it to the Gulf of Cum.
Wow, interesting. Well, you bring up Cuba. I still think that there was a Cuban element, and I did a wide ranging autist ball with Hughes. I think we went over 2 hours, and he said yes, Cuba, but not as much. I think the Cubans could have been the mechanics. You know what I mean? Like, one of them could have been a mechanic. When I say mechanic, I mean actual shooter or trafficker of some of the rifles. I think there was a Cuban element. I don't think that can totally be ignored.
There are a lot of people that think they took the Fidel assassination plans and just recycled them on Kennedy. Fidel and JFK had a backdoor channel. They were negotiating. Lyndon Johnson did not change any policies towards Cuba. The only thing LBJ changes is militancy for Israel. Like, they still were in Vietnam. They still were isolating Cuba even after the Bay of Pigs. It's Israel. You
mentioned Bobby Baker. You mentioned Bobby Baker earlier, Ryan. How is Bobby Baker tied into that? Because
Bobby Baker was
the scandal that was going to break.
You have to understand, back in the 60s, if you even had an extramarital affair, like, it didn't have to be with kids, it didn't have to be that extreme. Like, if you were sleeping with someone else's wife or sleeping with someone when you were married, you were done. Like, the public would crucify you if they found out you were doing something so unbecoming and unchristian like that. So that's the only dirt they really needed. And so he took, like, what Mickey Cohen would blackmail celebrities, Bobby Baker blackmailed politicians. And you noticed, and LBJ was one of those, all of that went away when Johnson got in power. The Bobby Baker, he was like feet to the fire, and it disappeared. And so that one is definitely worth taking a deep dive into. It's a long conversation, but like, that is a name. You guys now have the name. You have the internet. You have AI. So it's way easier now. I'm remaking this film. I can reverse engineer my old film so easy. It took me so long to find those documents. But if you already know what the name of them are and all that, you can find them in minutes. It's really easy. I was like, wow, it was really easy to plagiarize me. All you have to do is take myself in search engine, and you can find it. It's all there. Just you don't know where to look or what to ask. That's the problem. Anyway, you got to bounce now. It's past the hour, and I got to come. But let's do this. Don't be shy. We can come back and we can talk Kennedy or whatever. Let's do that.
Bring the base and
it's these things are hot in the news right now, Ryan. So I feel like you got to strike when everyone's talking about it and try to
just come back next week or something. But like,
sure,
it's I'm covering the Somali trial tomorrow. I don't know if you know about that nuisance streamer in Korea and Japan that went around being an ass everywhere. Well, he's a piece of shit. He's being tried in Seoul tomorrow, and I'm hoping to catch him on the steps just to let him know.
Nice. Well, we'll keep an eye on your X feed. Well, Ryan, thanks for coming on, and he's at Rye Liberty on X, where you got to be closing in on 280,000 followers, 300, something like that. It's just been so great to see, because when you finally got it was Twitter at the time when you got it back, like you just once you on it,
271, yeah. You know, I used to get like 800 a day, and then back when HTS took over Syria and I spoke out against that, it would just go, and this happened to Ritter too. I'd go up 400, down 380, just dip, and it was like all these dynamic zeros. Like, there's no way the exact same people, like, number are leaving that are following. That's weird. And then a fan yesterday tagged me, and it wouldn't tag me. You're like at Rye Liberty.
I saw that. Yeah,
and
yeah.
like,
Wouldn't
why
tag
isn't
you.
it blue? Yeah, that is definitely my name. What's going on?
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it's algorithmic favoritism. It's whatever. I've been stuck. It took me. I climbed that up to like 260 right away, and I got stuck at 199 for a while, and then they unshadow banned me, and then I was stuck at 260 for like 4 months, and then in a matter of days I'm at 271. So it's like whatever number is next to someone's name doesn't really matter, because a lot of that is just what they decide people get to see or don't see. So it's some of it's merit. I mean, if you have like 10 people, that's probably none. But if someone's got 200,000, 300,000, 100,000, whatever, that could all be the same thing, because it just depends on whether the algorithm puts you in people's feeds or it doesn't. And there definitely is, like he stated, you don't have freedom of reach. Anyone that went against the H-1B thing, they got uncheck marked, they got banned. Like, so yeah, I don't like this stuff. Like, it ought to be just the same or open source. Like, here is the algorithm. If people are engaging with your stuff, it should boost it or whatever, that's fine. But you shouldn't arbitrarily sandbag somebody because you don't like their content. And that's 100% what's happening. But at least I'm on. I wasn't allowed on the old regime.
There was the longest time, Ryan, where we were, doing our best to keep your stuff there on Twitter, and then it was just great to see when you got.
Do you remember that time I would get perpetual 30-day bans on Facebook? Yeah. Like at the end of one of those, I messaged you and Reed. Yeah. I said, hurry up and add my Skype because I'm gonna get banned. Yeah. And then I got banned, like right then. Literally, like trying to reply to me, like
within minutes of you sending that message to us. Yeah, and right, that was really, for the longest time, the only way to connect with Dawson, like, was Skype.
Maybe we can get Reed to come back soon. We would not have been able to reach each other.
No, exactly. Yeah, I didn't know how to get in touch with you, but yeah, we'll get. Reed's been busy, building a beautiful compound, and Reed's doing great. But we'll get Reed on. We'll get the
cabin in Montana, is it?
It's a Lindsey Graham log cabin.
It's a log cabin Republican with Kellyanne Conway's husband.
It was a Unabomber reference, man.
I know. I had to bring it to Graham. We didn't even talk about
you building the Libertarian compound of New Hampshire.
We're the East. It's going to be the East Coast response to Waco, to the Branch Davidians. Basically,
Reed is basically doing what libertarians talk about doing. Reed's actually doing it. Reed, that dude is. I'm so impressed by him, and he's only 30, so he's got his shit together. He's doing it right. But I think we could goad him out of Uncle.
I think the smart thing too is to do a job and get a nest egg, because if you come out saying the kind of stuff I say, this is not a good career move. Like,
no,
you better own your own business, because you will get fired otherwise. Everybody, myself, Horton, whoever, like anybody that's speaking truth to power right now, works for themselves.
Yeah.
Because if you work for someone else, they'll call up, they'll get you fired, they'll get you thrown out of school, they'll get you removed, whatever. Only independent people are allowed independent thought. Because the first move they do is attack you financially. They kick you off payment processors. They censor your social media. And if you're working for somebody, they get that job removed.
Right. Well, hang out with us for a sec after we finish the stream here, Ryan. But everyone, thanks for tuning in. And it was so good to have you back on. And absolutely, we'll do this again soon. And I'll dig Reed out of retirement, and we'll do a proper Four Horsemen. But everyone who tuned in tonight, really appreciate it. Please subscribe to our channel. If you like what we do, we're on Patreon, patreon.com/JackmanRadio. We're on Venmo. My Venmo is Senator Jackman86. If you like this and want to send some gratuity or want to send something and ask for a Trump impression, a Trump gram, I'll send that to you. So we will be back again soon.
We'll talk about your impression. Do you mind if I just play my waffle sponsor real fast? It's only a few seconds.
Yeah, what is it?
Let's do it.
And go to ancreport.com, folks.
Yeah, ANC Report.
I don't know if you have to allow it or what, but
let me
Hey,
see here.
don't Israel.
My ego.
Here it is.
Don't Israel.
My ego, Jessica.
my
Light
God,
golden
it's like-
Eggo waffles taste so good, it's not always easy to get your hands on one. So sometimes you have to improvise.
Don't Israel.
My ego, please.
Eggo waffles from Kellogg's.
He's got that one. Dude, it has real production value, Mike.
Fucking BB. Israel my juice.
oh, you don't got to play all these to remove it.
Did you just Israel my juice?
Oh, that's a classic.
That's the one that started it. The one here's funny is I recorded that one in Australia. Then I recorded one with Ashley in DC. And then I recorded one in LA and I recorded one in Japan. So like it's got multiple nations. Got to do one here in Korea soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Multiple states. Did one in Texas too.
I'll have to send you, Ryan. My best friend who I met in college, he's from Connecticut. He just made international news on CNN, leading one of the first tour groups into North Korea through Rason. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly.
And I think Corey did the Eggo one with me.
That's funny.
I think that might have been him.
Corey
I made up the whole "Don't Israel my whatever," but yeah, he did. I know he did the Transformers one. I think he did the Eggo one. I'm not sure.
Let's do a stream with you and Corey at the same time. We'll do a JFK office.
He better not be in the U.S. when that happens. He'll catch a bullet.
Jesus, so I'm in the U.S.
All right. Well, I will. I'll end the stream here, guys, and
we've done it. We've done podcasts on Substack and stuff and Telegram. Just
Substack's
YouTube.
great.
I don't know if they'd let the two of us on YouTube. But
Well, we can try it, Mike.
We'll see what
we could
happens.
go down with a kamikaze.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, folks, and we will see you next time on Jackman Radio.
Cheers. Slava Ukraine.